We are live on a Thursday afternoon, and we say hello to you. Welcome to the program. You can tell we're in a giddy mood. We had a little Christmas party, and I'm drunk with eggnog.
They're not fans of you here, Paul. We got a protest going on here on campus in Salt Lake City, and I don't know, Paul. This is not fine, Mom. They're pretty upset with this take. I mean, do you have anything to say to these protesters gathered behind me?
Listen, I'm all for young people expressing themselves, even if it's against me. There's BYU, there's Utah. Do they have any other schools out there? Utah State? So this state with 100 people has 3 major universities?
You know, Paul, it's, crazy things happen in this game in particular, and not many people are giving Georgia a shot. But, I'm over here now in Athens. I've been here all week. And it's a very confident bunch that's really enjoying wearing that tag underdog.
I'm trying not to get upset. I'm going to be sober, Paul. Do you honestly mean your statement that you made to Andre that he's the first person I have been respectful to on this show?
He's the first person I don't remember you yelling at.
Burrow's never really been pressured that much this season. They run a quick, fast offense. And Jamar Chase has never been covered really this season. So if he can be covered by one of the Georgia cornerbacks, and if they can get some pressure on Burrow, it might be a different game than LSU's used to.
When the game ended,
missed field goal.
I started to go to the Kearse River Bridge and jump off.
So he's saying the people in Jersey are sharper. They may have sharper objects on them, but they're not sharper than. I'm a Tennessean. He's talking to me. You talking to me, Greg?
I'm siding with Tennessee on that.
You're talking to me. I don't think we've done the game out in Santa Clara yet.
Could it have something to do with these people angry behind me, potentially?
Listen, it has nothing to do with my love for Utah. Hit the bell, Oregon.
Utah versus Oregon. Let's sound the alarm, and let's sound it twice, because it is a big-time upset alert.
I mean, I can't get any more bad press from Utah, so why worry?
Put them on the alert.
Why try to suck up to them now? Well, I think you can, but we're glad you're here, and certainly we all remember going back 10 and 11 years ago when you were in this game, and probably the two of the most intense games in the history of this epic event.
Yeah, this game is different. I got to play in it 3 times, and for the fans at home or people that haven't got a chance, it's not like any other game. It's split 50-50, and the excitement, the momentum in this game, it changes so rapid, so fast, and this will be a different environment. I think one of the edges I think Georgia has is they've been in this game the last 2 years. It's been since 2011 LSU has been in this game, and so I think there'll be a few storms that LSU kind of has to weather with that.
Yeah, I mean, somebody was saying earlier that they've been in so many big games. They have. I'm interested from your perspective. You were always in big games, but what's the difference in playing in a game at Alabama, home against A&M, versus coming into this environment?
Well, it's different because the magnitude of what it means is different. Okay. Everything is on the line, and you just have to settle in. It's almost like a national championship type game. It's where sometimes those lights are just different, and the excitement, and you build it so much up in your own heart and in your own head that sometimes you just have to breathe and you have to go play. And so you might see that from a team, or tomorrow is they might have to get a possession or two and just kind of calm down, and every now and then you'll see a coach just grabbing a player, shaking, saying, hey, you're good, just go play football, because either they're too excited, they're too tense, they're too nervous, and so sometimes you just got to take a breath and then be able to get into your game plan.
Yeah, I don't know what else we could possibly say about Joe Burrow, but I do want to ask you about Jake Fromm. 2 weeks ago, you spent some time with him. You obviously know him well. And, there are just so many questions, not so much about him, but just about the compliments that he has healthy around him.
Yeah, I think that, Jake has come under a lot of criticism the last few weeks, and I don't think it all should be on him. I think that there's been a couple throws and drives he would want back, but to be honest, he hasn't had a lot of help. The running game hasn't been what it's been in the past. Their best receivers, Lawrence Cager, their best receiver, has been hurt a lot of the year. Their next best receiver, Pickens, is out for the first half. They got to have some guys step up, and I think they also got a game plan around it to be able to control the ball, but then also have to take shots at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot to digest there, but in terms of winning the game, I mean, there are a couple of things that we would agree with. I mean, they've been here. They have a lot to play for. I mean,
Yeah.
so, listen,
Everything to play for.
LSU has the same amount to play for, except
they can lose and still get in.
there's a difference. I mean,
There's a margin there, and there's something different when you know it is do or die. Everything is on the line. All our chips are in, and they don't have to be for LSU, but they are for Georgia. There's a sense of desperation, and when you see teams play with desperation, it usually goes drastic one way or the other. It's either, wow, look at how explosive they are, or they're crumbling, and that's what happens when a lot of pressure hits. And so I think you'll see one of the best game plans of the year by Georgia. I think they're going to put everything into it, and you really look at the last 3 times that Kirby's been in a big game, the 2 SEC championships and the national championship. He went into those games and he won the early game plan. Yeah. Auburn 2 years ago, Alabama 2 years ago, and last year against Alabama, they won the game plan. They started off better, but there was an X factor that happened, and that was, for Alabama, it was the rotation of a quarterback.
Exactly.
And changing their game plan, and Georgia wasn't able to adjust fast enough, and that's why they lost both of those games. But going into the game, Kirby had great game plans and great setups.
We know how good or great the Georgia defense is, so not only Auburn has been able to slow Joe Burrow down at all. How do you disrupt him?
Well, I think Georgia's defense is a little bit more set up to be able to slow down LSU than I think Auburn is. Auburn is so good up front, and they're good everywhere, but they're dominant up front. I think that would be more effective against a downhill running team, and I think where Georgia's really good is they're very consistent. And they don't give up a lot of big plays. They don't miss a lot of tackles, and they get off the ball on 3rd down. I think that'll be so key in this game that Georgia they don't give up the big plays. They keep it in front of them. They force LSU to field goals. LSU's going to drive the ball, and they're going to make some big plays, but don't give up the dagger. You know, don't give up the dagger that Florida did in the second half. Don't give up the dagger where Joe Burrow hit Auburn and beat them. And I think that's going to be such a key. Give up 3, 6, 9. Let them get drive and get their field goals, but find a way to stop them on 3rd down in the red zone.
Let me broaden this to the playoff. And again, there are a couple of intangibles. If Georgia wins, doesn't matter the next part of this conversation. But you have the Pac-12 game tonight. Let's say Utah wins, Oklahoma wins. How do you pick the 4th team?
Well, I think if we go Utah, Baylor, and Oklahoma, and we look at their resumes, because the eye test is too hard. They don't have common opponents. They didn't play each other. So I think you look at that, and honestly, I think if Baylor wins, I think Baylor has the strongest say.
Really?
Because Baylor beat Oklahoma State. That's a ranked win. Baylor would have revenged their loss against Oklahoma. So this would be a top 10 win, and it would be a top 10 loss that they dominated. We're up 25 earlier in the game. Oklahoma, you got a good say. Utah, if they win, it'll be their first win over a ranked team. And so I think when you're looking at strength of schedules and you're looking at the dominance over a year, you got a really good defense, but this would be your first win over a ranked team. The other ranked team was Utah. They lost, and so I think if Baylor wins, I think Baylor probably has the edge. And when I look at the history of this season and their wins, their losses, and how they played those games, and their dominance in them as well.
Yeah, and there's the other battle is obviously for number 1, and you know, maybe we make too much out of it, but yeah, you'd rather be if you're number 1 playing one of the teams you just got through mentioning.
You get to pick where you want to play. You get to play a team that is not going to be as strong as Clemson at number 3. I think it's a huge battle. I think if LSU can dominate, they're going to beat the number 4 team in the country, and that should carry a lot of weight. But Ohio State has been extremely consistent all year. So I think it depends on style points as well.
I want to ask you about Ohio State because certainly you're really close to that program and you've seen that program built to where it is. And I mean, we naturally are a little bit biased toward what we see down here, but it's hard for me. My eyes aren't that great, but Ohio State looks like the best team in the country.
Well, Ohio State is really consistent. Ohio State, they don't have a weakness. They don't have a glaring weakness. But the other thing that you would say about Ohio State is just trying to really take a step back and look. But have they really played a team that could truly challenge them? That was good enough. Michigan, there's some big holes in Michigan's game. Wisconsin, there's some big holes in athleticism there. So you look and I say, is there a team that even has the ability to challenge them? And I don't think so. But when you look at them, there's just not a weakness. And so I think there's two ways. I think when you look at LSU, there's a lot of arguments in big games against great teams. But then you also see some weaknesses in their defense. Ohio State, you don't really see weaknesses, but they haven't played the same competition that LSU has. So I think it's just what's your preference in those two? What do you look at to say, you know what, that's how I would vote as number one?
I was talking to the commissioner about this, and again, it doesn't matter. We're down to a finite number of teams, but if you look at, let's move Alabama out of the way. It's just too much to digest with them. But a team like Florida, a team like Auburn, you put them with some of the other schedules, and I mean, you can't, but I mean, these are really good teams.
Yeah, it's just not close. I think if you look at Florida, they lost, in Jacksonville neutral site to the number 4 team, and they lost to the number 2 team in probably the hardest place to play. Right. And they had a 4th and 1 from tying the game. So different schedules, it changes, and that's what, not every schedule is created equal. And I think that's one of the toughest things evaluating college football is some of these teams, they are up there because they've had really easy schedules and they haven't had to play anybody.
And the one that everybody talks about is Clemson. You look at things differently than we do. I mean, you obviously the opponent matters, but you also look at both sides of the ball. When you look at Clemson, are they similar to what we saw last year?
So I don't think Clemson's there because they've played an easy schedule. I think Clemson is there because they're a really good football team. Unfortunately, they also play an easy schedule. But, I think that's one of the things that has hurt the playoff in the past is Michigan State got in and had to play Alabama. We knew they weren't good. They got in because their schedule was easy. Notre Dame got in. They got waxed by Clemson. They got in because their schedule wasn't that tough. And so I think there's something to really talking about figuring out a way to divvy up these schedules where they all play big-time teams and head-to-head and neutral sides. I think that's really important because I think it'll help the committee evaluate who are the 4 best teams.
Tim Tebow, always great to come by here on our Friday visits. Tim, hopefully we'll see you again during the playoffs, but thank you for making our show on Friday
always,
so great.
Paul. Appreciate it, man.
We're back. Much more to come here in
Alabama's really, as you know, played 2 top 25 teams, lost to both of them. Number 2, and where's Auburn now? 11. So good losses, but and not a lot of wins over P5 teams with winning records. Defense strong. But as I observed and listened to the discussion, the committee was determined to let the head-to-head mean something in that one with Auburn, and then just look who they fell below. I think people tend to look at drops without saying, "Wait a minute, what did the other teams do that they passed?" And I'm just trying to think of who lost that was who else lost that was in their mix. That they may have been the only one in their group that in their ranking that went down. Although I need to be careful about saying that because I don't know.
That's okay. No, I just wanted a snapshot, but
yeah, and you have to think about what did the other teams do. It's not just what did Team A do, but what did everybody else do? Actually, the committee will watch all the games together this weekend. That's sort of the tradition and what we do. The schedule is we will have a meeting Friday late afternoon, go through some administrative things and just talk about anybody have any feedback on where we were last week. And then adjourn and watch the Pac-12 game. Come back Saturday morning, analyze what we saw in the Pac-12 game. Can't do any rankings because we need the other game results. And so we'll just gather for the rest of the day together watching football. And we have 2 of our members whose teams are playing, Oklahoma and Oregon, and they'll be in there right there with us in the room watching games.
There's a perception out there that the TV networks pick the teams for better ratings. I know you've heard that one before.
Oh my goodness, I've been doing this. Let me see, 31 years, 16 years in college basketball with the Final Four or with the NCAA tournament, and now this is my 15th year with college football. Every year, Paul, I hear someone say that. All of those 31 years, and it is absolutely not true. TV wouldn't want to be a part of it, and even if they did, we would say, no, you don't have anything to do with this. Get out of here. No, absolutely not.
Welcome back to the Paul Feinbaum Show, presented by Johnsonville.
Welcome back. We are live in Atlanta. What an amazing show it's been already. We got a long way to go. Jevon, Kearse, and Karlos Dansby, one Florida, one Auburn, both legends being inducted tonight. And guys, I mean, you played at the highest level. You've been all pro. You played in Super Bowls. But I'm guessing it still has to be pretty cool tonight, doesn't it?
No, it is.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, man. It's cool. This is awesome for the SEC to put something on like this, man, the championship game. It all coming together. It's a beautiful moment.
Especially like to be a part of the biggest conference, I think, in the whole wide world.
I was just talking to Tebow, and it drives me crazy when you see, we're debating Baylor and Oklahoma and Utah. Give them a schedule like any of these teams have.
It's pretty much an SEC championship game every week when you're in the SEC.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I can be biased all day long, but I know for a fact everybody's seen it. It was on display with Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl. This is the best conference ever, man. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when the greatest coach of all time takes some really good teams down in Auburn, it's like they're in a haunted house, aren't they, Karlos?
Oh, without a doubt, man. That place is special. And the Alabama fans got a chance to really see how special Jordan-Hare really is.
I had an Alabama fan text me Saturday night. An Alabama fan said, it's just not fair to have to go down there.
I already know.
I've had some Auburn fans tell me they didn't really like going to the Swamp this year either.
No, man. That's one thing I can attest to. Like during my 3 years playing there, never lost a home game. So basically, yeah, I'm not bragging, but never lost a home game.
So Florida player not bragging?
No, not bragging at all. But I never know what it felt like to leave the stadium after the game, with our heads down. So that was always a good thing.
You played for a pretty good coach too.
Yeah, Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach.
What was he like to be around?
He was awesome to play for.
Especially on your side of the ball.
I mean, the good thing about my side of the ball, he always got a pretty good defensive coordinator and let that D coordinator do his thing. But on top of that, he would always challenge us. No matter what, each week in practice, I would say each day in practice, he would pick one player that he's going to go at a lot. And then I remember when he got me during the spring practice one time, I didn't even know it, but literally 5 plays in a row, they were either running the option towards me or had to cover the tight end, and no matter what, they still threw the ball to the tight end or whatever. So, he's one of those guys, he's also a psych major. So, he gets in your head, in more ways than you think. So, he was always that guy that pushed all the players and try to make us better.
How exasperating could he be, though? Because, I've been friends with Steve. I've played golf with him. As his partner, he drives you crazy.
Wow.
He does that. No, he definitely loves some golf. There's plenty of times, during the spring practices where he would show up right before practice in just his golf attire and just take his shirt off and go outside and just start practice. He
got mad at me once. I said that he played on Friday before the game, and he called me and said, that's ridiculous. I said, well, I know you told me that. He said, that was the off week.
No, that's him, though. It was definitely awesome to play for. A fun guy, and then, he basically just kept everybody in tune. He would give us all the craziest trick plays at the end of every practice. So I don't think any team could have ran any trick play on us at all.
Playing in Auburn obviously speaks for itself. But you played out for the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, and I know it's hard to. The Super Bowl is the biggest game in the world.
Right.
What was that like?
It was unbelievable. I want to compare the Super Bowl to the Iron Bowl. That's the closest.
Yeah.
I want to say example I can give. And the Iron Bowl is, like I said, it's different. You playing for the last name on your back. You represent your mom, your dad, your cousin, your little niece. So it's just different. And the Super Bowl is the same way. You gotta really every play, every snap count. You can't be lacking. You have to show your effort. You can't take a play off. And it's going to show because every snap going into history books. Every snap.
Yeah, and you played on a great Auburn team.
Yes, sir.
One of the best ever. That unfortunately doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You did something in the Super Bowl that we got into it. I don't know if you've heard this. So you're playing in front of 100 million people.
Yes, sir.
And 100, whatever it is, the biggest audience in the world, and everybody says Jevon Kearse, University of Florida. You didn't say that.
No, sir. I said Woodlawn High School. Yes, sir. Birmingham, Alabama.
Now, by the way, it's a famous high school.
It's a famous high school, without a doubt.
Movies done on it?
Yes, sir. On Tony Nathan?
Yeah.
That's my first cousin, matter of fact.
I didn't realize
Yes, sir. So it's not bloodline. You know, so I brag a little bit about that.
A lot of people don't know. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but for you young people out there, Tony Nathan's one of the greatest running backs ever. Played for Bear Bryant at Alabama. You would have had a hard time bringing him down, I promise you.
Oh, I don't know. Probably. You probably know.
He played for the Dolphins after that.
He played for the Dolphins. Yes, sir.
He was amazing.
I'm going to take your word for it, yes.
He's amazing. But like I said, Auburn is home. Woodlawn is home. Birmingham is home. And I'm a product of my environment. Loved every second of Auburn. Loved every second of Birmingham. And right now I'm coming back home.
What are you working on?
What's that?
I know you're coming back to Birmingham. What kind of projects are you working on there?
I'm working on different projects to beautify the community. Right now I got a great relationship with the city, the mayor, some of the city councilmen, and like I said, right now I'm just trying to make a difference and be that difference maker that I have passion and always dream to be.
It's interesting, for those of us who are just normal people. I mean, we look at guys like you. You play in the NFL, obviously. Both of you done pretty well. What's it like to kind of go over that line and I don't want to say be normal again, because you have so much stock and investment in what you've accomplished and so much adulation. But Jevon, was it difficult to go back to being something other than a pro football player?
I mean, me personally, whatever. I would say like it had a lot to do with my upraising. Like I was in a single parent household, so it was a lot of things that I didn't have or wasn't able to get. And so like now my passion is charity work. I have my charity foundation, and if anybody doing the charity work or any type of event, I'm like, invite me, I'll be there. Sure. I don't care if it's pool, I don't care if it's kickball, I don't care like if it's just pinball or whatever it is, whatever. Like that's my passion there, to just give back to, especially I do a lot of giving back to my community. Like that's my passion.
Jenny, I spent the day this spring in Gainesville with Titus O'Neil, and I heard him, obviously you guys know him, and just hearing his, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of us don't appreciate. I know I lived in Birmingham 30 years. I know where you came from, Karlos. I mean, I think those of us who see you on the field and we react however we react don't appreciate a lot of guys have come from difficult circumstances.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. You know what I'm saying? And then when you see the guys make the transition, like you said, to be the superstars that they are, or be prime players as they are, and you have to look at their background, see where they come from, some of the things they had to deal with to get to that level, the sacrifices they had to make. And a lot of people don't appreciate that until they come back, and then they give back. Like Jevon said, he's big into his foundation work, which is a beautiful thing. Every project I'm doing is a humanitarian project. So I'm giving back to the community. I'm trying to educate the people that from my area and my location on how to create generational wealth throughout the development piece. And I think it's lacking in that industry, and I just want to be the change I want to see.
You guys have given me a go. When I become as old as you guys are, I'm going to work on the same project. But I mean, I really do admire it, though, because I think too often athletes get a bad rap. I mean, we see all the things that go wrong, and as someone who was a newspaper columnist and now a talk show host, I mean, it's easy to throw darts, but I'm fascinated by the other side of that. When you work with a foundation, tell us a little bit about some of the things you do and how you help people.
I mean, like personally, like my foundation, I'm like for like the past say 15, 16 years, I give back backpacks like when it's time to start school. Like I said, I was in that single parent household to where like I had a hard time coming up with my school supplies. So if you don't have the school supplies, that makes it harder to do the next thing, which is to learn and get your education. So I come and help out at least 700 to 1,000. If I get somebody to help me out, but 700 to 1,000 backpacks, I'm giving y'all the tools. The rest of y'all to just show up and do what you got to do. And I do the same thing for Thanksgiving. Give out 700 to 1,000 Thanksgiving turkeys along with the whole meal or whatever. That's my favorite That's my favorite holiday. It's Thanksgiving. I love food, and then that's also family time. It's also a time to be very, very thankful. So I'm big on that one as well. So I mean, I do those things there because, like, if I get just one parent come up to me, they got like 2 or 3 kids, maybe 4 or 5 kids, and come up to me like literally like look me face to face in my eyes, like literally like thank you so much, Mr. Kearse, and then tears start coming down. I'm like, say no more, just give me a hug.
Exactly.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to help you like not have to worry about where your meal's gonna come from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That moves you, man. That moves you to have that kind of effect on people's lives. And you touch their soul, they touch yours. You know, and like I say, you have to give back. It's only right. Because, like I say, you probably came from a situation where you didn't have those opportunities presented to you. So if you want to be able to provide and, like I said, be the change you want to see.
Yes.
How important, like a night like tonight, to your family, what does it mean, Karlos and Jevon, to see you honored among some of the, well, not some of, the greatest names in SEC history?
Yes, sir. Well, I'll let Jevon start first with that one. but to me, personally, to be sitting next to Jevon Kearse, this is a legend. You know, like you understand.
You're such a younger guy.
I'm a younger guy. I'm a younger guy.
So you played like 4 years after him.
But it feels good, man. It feels real good to know that I'm being honored for what I've been able to accomplish and be able to contribute to not only the guys that I played with, but to the university. For them to recognize me and say, hey, you know what, you did a great job. We appreciate all your hard work, your effort, and what you mean to the Auburn community. And it's a blessing for me to be here. Then, like I said, to share a stage with Jevon Kearse, man. This is history to make it, man. This is history. This is history.
No, I was very blessed, and like it's an awesome honor for me to be here to represent the University of Florida. Lots of great athletes have come through there. Even got one of the guys from the university on this bus over here, whose picture's on the bus over here, and Tim Tebow. But I mean, just the honor to represent the orange and blue. It's a tremendous honor, and like hopefully I do them well, like continuously, like after this point, like not just this right here, but just throughout life, to just like show everyone like how proud I am, and then how much I am, how happy I am to honor the University of Florida.
Final question: when both of you were growing up, who was the guy you looked up to? Who did you want to be?
Well,
or be like?
Actually, y'all was talking about high schools earlier. I went to the same high school as this guy, one number 21 in the league. Deion Sanders. Yeah, so no.
you had to think about who Deion Sanders was?
Okay. No, definitely.
That's beautiful, man.
He was definitely like one of the guys that I looked up to. But
I mean, just one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Not only like for his work on the field, but like then also like he also came back to the community as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I like Deion, but I mean, sometimes, I mean, he's walking over to me. He's got so much on, I can't even make out who he is. What about you, Karlos?
For me, it was, I have to say, it was Eric Dixon.
Oh.
Eric Dixon growing up was like, that was my team, that was my staple. He was my player.
Yeah.
Wherever he went, that was my player. It didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And I hung my hat. I wanted to be just like him. Because in the Little League football, I played tailback. You know what I'm saying? So I just grew into this body, so it took a while.
What I like is this, Jevon. He grows up about 22 miles from Bo Jackson's hometown, and he wanted to be like Eric Dickerson.
Yes, man. That's bad, man. That's bad.
A good call.
That's bad business.
And by the way, your cousin Tony Nathan.
Yes, sir.
And I believe it or not, I was too young to cover him. That's not often I get to say that. He is truly one of the greatest running backs in SEC history.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he was a great pro too. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we had conversations.
They had a movie made after him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's called Woodline. The high school. It's called Woodline.
I'm gonna look it up.
Help me. You may remember that Tony, I think, played in a high school city championship game, Woodlawn versus Banks, I think.
It's Woodlawn versus Banks.
There were like 50,000, 60,000 people in Legion Field that watched this game.
I do remember hearing the name.
Yeah.
It changed the
whole face of Birmingham.
Alabama.
Yes, sir.
I mean, guys, thank you. What a pleasure.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
This is the part of the job I really do enjoy, getting to talk to guys like this. We will take a break. Much more to come.
Parmesan's a safe topic.
Exactly. Well, it's great to have Matt Stinchcomb here. Georgia legend, and recently, about what, 2 years ago, you got inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Last year.
Last year.
I'm still new to the whole deal.
Seems like 2 years ago.
They won't even let me in the clubs anymore. I got to walk in with somebody that's been in there for a couple of years
now that you're in, do you have to like go back every year?
I don't know that you have to.
But you do?
But I haven't had a chance. I went in last year, so I haven't had a chance to make a return visit.
Well, I think it's Tuesday night.
I better book a flight.
Yeah.
Snuck up on me, Paul.
I mean, it's
I didn't know it was that quick.
The entire college football world moves from here and wherever else they are to New York.
That's true. You're right. That's right.
And we did a show a couple of years ago at the College Football Hall of Fame, and I thought I got my ticket and walked in. My ticket's is on Broadway. I mean, I'm not sure I was inside the room.
But you could hear they've got a fantastic sound system.
I mean, you were on the dais. It's the hardest room to walk around, and it's also the coolest room to walk around.
It is a cool room to be in. There's no doubt. But you're right. Well, and they've got the balcony seating too, you know. But everybody gets served the same grub, so you get the same experience.
For the record, I did not eat. I went out afterward. After two speeches,
tapped out.
We all went down the street to eat.
It's a great town to be. Have a little free time in, that's for sure.
It is.
Very festive.
Well, Matt, let's talk about this game. And I'm really interested because the narrative just seems to be the same from everyone that Georgia's defense is just spectacular. And their offense could be really good if everyone either wasn't hurt or suspended. Where do you sit during this conversation?
Well, I'll not argue. I think it would come in handy if everybody was healthy and available. That seems ideal.
That does play a role.
I think this. I think Georgia's issue and offensively what they're going to want to be able to do, and everybody will say the wide receivers have to step up and Fromm needs to play well. It's the 3 and outs that they've gotten into ruts throughout this season. And when you look at it, it's about anywhere between 1 and 4 and 1 and 5 offensive possessions. They snap the ball 3 times and then they punt it away. And you can't afford to do that versus this offense. As good as it is, it's like Joe Burrow is like a blackjack dealer. And the odds are always in favor of the house. Every time you sit down with that guy, you're giving him a chance to beat you. So I think if Georgia can sustain drives, that's going to be pivotal. Not even necessarily come away with points, although they're going to have to score at a better pace than they have been. But certainly on the offensive side of the ball especially, it would really have been nice if their top 2 receivers were available for a full 4 quarters of play. Look at Pickens back. They're not getting Lawrence Gager back.
So with his defense as good as they are, this is pretty basic football 101. But it helps to have some offensive production to allow you to stand on the sideline.
It's true. I think this. Ideally for Georgia, as good as they seem to be on defense, and I think by all measures and even the common opponents between these two teams, it seems as if it's one of the best units in all of college football. If you could try to make LSU play from behind, which is not something that they're used to doing. They're only down.
Have they been behind this year?
Auburn had them down 3-0.
Okay.
They went an entire quarter without
I must have
scoring.
gone out for a drink at that point.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we have to rewind it to halfway through the season. But I do think that when you're looking at Georgia, the last thing you want is to try to catch what is a runaway train. And so if LSU's having success early on, and obviously you're not able to match that offensively, you're taking Georgia out of their comfort zone. We've already talked about it a little bit. It's the passing attack that struggled largely at times. It's impacted their running game. So to play from behind is not ideal. If the defense can play with the lead for Georgia, I think that's the A plan.
I've heard a few people say this, and I don't know whether it makes any difference or not. Well, they've been here before. Does that matter?
Yeah, look, you look at Georgia, and I think 68% of their roster are sophomores or younger. How much experience have those guys had? Now, Jake Fromm's been here 3 times. But those guys haven't, and a lot of those guys that are now contributing, some of them are true freshmen. Other guys, they would have been redshirted. So just because you're suited up in a venue and you never get on the field, I don't know how much you draw from that experience. Georgia's played in big games. LSU's played in big games. Yeah. This is a big game.
I mean, this is a pedestrian view, but if you have played Auburn in Florida, Tiger Stadium, and you go to Alabama, I mean, are you not pretty well prepared to play in an SEC championship?
You can play anywhere. And you look at LSU, that's the most hostile environment you can ever play in. Right. So it's not as if neither one of these teams, Joe Burrow's never played in an SEC championship. Do we really think that fact is going to somehow derail the guy?
He doesn't seem like he'd be phased if he was lining up at Grand Central Station.
Is that a possibility? They're not moving this game, are they?
I mean, you always hear the old line used to be, we'll play them in a Walmart parking lot, but that's not a big deal.
Not to these guys.
Grand Central Station at rush hour would be,
it'd be a lot more busy, that's for sure. Plenty of distractions.
Crazy busy.
Plus the shopping carts would get in the way.
I mean, the hard part would be to find your receiver.
That's true. There's no telling how many LSU jerseys be walking around in Grand Central Station, especially the way the season they've had.
I'm glad that you dropped by, and I'm mostly glad I let you know when the College Football Hall of Fame is next week.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for wedging that in again.
You're not going, right?
I'm not going?
Yeah.
No, I'm unaware of any transportation to the town.
You got in. Your family was there. You're proud of it, and you're saying, you know what? I'm done. I don't need to go back and watch someone else get inducted.
I don't know that it was strategic. That's for sure.
Okay.
I think more than anything, it's a function of maybe I'm just clueless and it snuck up on me.
I've never been I have never been in any Hall of Fame. I've never come close to one. But I'm telling you what. If I ever got into a Hall of Fame, I'm there the next year wearing the blazer. Like, hey, last year I'm in.
If they gave me a blazer, I'd probably be wearing it right now. That's the problem. It's an apparel thing.
And
I feel limited.
I mean, I'm not even in like my neighborhood Hall of Fame from my youth.
Not even for the HOA?
No.
Really? You're not like the best chairman of your HOA?
I'm for Hall of Fames.
There's got to be a broadcasting Hall of Fame. I'm guessing that you'd be a nominee at some point. You wedge your way in there,
yet.
Paul.
Anyway, they're telling me we've got to go. We went too long with the two previous guys, but you understand. I
understand completely. There's a litany of luminaries over here waiting to get up here.
I know. Jeff Foxworthy's going to be here in a minute.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm sticking around for that one.
Okay. Matt, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me on,
Tuesday
Paul.
night, New York.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be talking about bowl.
I think the main feeling for LSU people is they got to keep Joe Brady, the pass game coordinator. That's number one goal there is keeping him. You know Joe Burrow is leaving, and I think Joe Burrow definitely helped make Joe Brady a superstar pass game coordinator as Brady helped Burrow become a superstar quarterback. But, the litmus test will be how Joe Brady does with Miles Brennan or one of the freshmen next year. But they definitely have to keep him, or, this could be like a one-year wonder. But they do have better quarterbacks coming in down the road, and if they can keep Joe Brady for a couple of years, they had the number 3 class last year. They have the number 1 class right now. This program could be good for quite a few years. Ed has the soul of an assistant coach. Assistant coaches tend to be more well-liked by the players and by the media sometimes. And he's been a great head coach, a great CEO head coach, but he's still kind of like an assistant, I think. But, he's just doing a phenomenal job. One of the best things he's done is the hires he's made, like Joe Brady. Like Greg McMahon, to coach the special teams, also a former Saint coach. His offensive line coach, his secondary coach have been great hires, and he's recruited extremely well, which everybody knew about. But he's also up in D.C. and California, areas that LSU hasn't been in, and he's really doing well there. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. The fourth team, if you finish number 1, you get to play the 4 seed. But I don't know if playing the 4 seed is that much easier than, say, playing Clemson if they're the 3 seed, which LSU would play if they're the 2 seed. So, I don't know, man. Do you want to go against Jalen Hurts if he's the number 4 team with Oklahoma? LSU's defense has had issues this year with passing quarterbacks and running quarterbacks, and he does both. So I don't really know, and it's so close as far as LSU and Ohio State. I could see voting either of them number 1. I think Ohio State probably is a molecule better than LSU, but if LSU beats Georgia Saturday, I got to believe they should go up to number 1.
This is the Paul Feinbaum Show, presented by Johnsonville.
Welcome back. There is a lot of excitement building. I just met Jeff Foxworthy for the first time. And if you're about to go out to dinner or go to a high school game or get out of your car, I recommend you figuring out a way to stick around. He is going to be with us in about 10 minutes. And a lot of excitement here for one of the funniest people in the world. Let's check in with Red Dog. Ken is up next. Ken is next. Go right ahead, Ken.
How you doing, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you.
I would want to talk to you a little bit about the Georgia LSU game. I've seen several championships in the past. I went to see Georgia Notre Dame back in 1980 when they won it all.
Oh, wow.
They were really excited with Herschel Walker. And that team, they had a lot of, there was a team, what you call a real team. And this team right here, they seem like they might be a real team too together because they just seem to got a lot of, they just got a lot of together. And I saw an interview about Jay Fromm one day, and he said, we are going to get it together. I feel like we're going to get a big game some way, somehow. Every game that he says he plays, he's going to get a big game, and he keeps saying it, and I wonder when it's going to be, and it could be this game. That defense is awesome, Paul, but I just got my doubts about the offense.
Well, listen, let me jump in. I think you're right, Ken. Hey, thank you very much for the call. I do appreciate it. We want to try to grab one or two more here before we get to Jeff Foxworthy. Red Dog is now on the air. Go right ahead.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
What is going on, my friend?
I'm the one behind you in the red. Do you see me? You don't see me, Paul, but I want to tell you, I'm walking around here SEC Fan Fair, and every time I walk by an LSU fan,